has always been a long-standing society men commit crimes against the vulnerable, such as robbery, assault, and murder. But at the Assault on Manhood show, we are under no illusion. We truly believe that there is equality amongst the genders in the commission of crimes. Join us each week as we bring you the ladies who love to assault men. Hello and welcome to this week's version of Assault on Manhood. This week on Assault on Manhood, we bring you 6 instances in which women drew little regard for the life, property, or human rights of the men they assaulted. Now, many of these stories we find do not make national news any more than they make local news. Why? Because the media feels it is more exciting to have the perpetrator be male and the victim to be female. That's it. They know that this excites the passions in which women and men alike look for justice over leniency. But there is no law written that has preference over gender. But with the way sentences are handed down and stories featured in the news, one might believe so. Our first story up is from Memphis, Tennessee, USA, where a New York man was pepper sprayed and robbed by 2 women in Memphis after he had withdrawn a substantial amount of money from his ATM. Police said the man was leaving an ATM machine at Beale Street and 3rd Street when the 2 women sprayed him with a chemical agent and robbed him of that cash. On the scene, witnesses identified that the women as Keosha Carrick, 25 years of age, and Shakia Tanner, 22 years of age. The victim's credit cards, New York State driver's license, work identification, and New York area business cards were found in Carrick's purse. Now, officers also discovered a chemical agent in Carrick's purse. But I guess so much for the saying, I didn't do anything to him, he can't blame it on me, it was somebody else, right? Now, Carrick and Tanner were both arrested and charged with robbery. Carrick is in jail on a $20,000 bond, and Tanner has a $10,000 bond. So much for planning for theft for an arrest that costs even how much more than that, right? Now, our second story comes to us from Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, and sounds similar to the first, in which police say a woman is the suspect of a robbery and assault that happened in Carlisle. So the Carlisle police were dispatched to the 400 block of North Hanover Street for what had been a reported robbery. Now, according to the victim, a woman pepper sprayed him, just like the first case, assaulted him, forced him to withdraw money from an ATM, and took items from his home. The suspect, Shonda Delp, 22 years of age, of Carlisle, was arrested and transported to Cumberland County Prison. Now, there she faced arraignment. Moving on to our third story. This story comes to us by way of Memphis, Tennessee. Police say 2 women, kidnapped a man on Beale Street and robbed him. Sierra Jackson, 28 years of age, and 20-year-old Jamaica Robinson both face aggravated kidnapping and aggravated robbery charges. Police say they pulled a gun on a man at 4th and Beale in the early morning hours. Then they forced him to get into their car. So they knew that this guy was not going to defend himself against a gun. The man was taken to an area near Elvis Presley Boulevard and Norris Road, where he was robbed of $900 and his cell phone. Of course, they didn't want him calling the police until they got a long distance away, but he was able to identify them. So, moving right along to our fourth story from Cumbria, Grenada, different country, where a woman was jailed for sexually assaulting a man with scissors in Cumbria, Grenada. 26-year-old Broken Gillard from Overton was sentenced to 31 months, while her friend Paige Cunningham, who's 22, from Barrow was handed 10 months by a judge at Preston Crown Court. The pair had earlier pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting the 19-year-old man at Gillard's former home in the early hours of the 29th of November last year after meeting him at a pub in Barrow. Now, while he was unconscious on the kitchen floor after that pub, the women cut his hair and clothes off before cutting a red onion into chunks over his head and naked body. Now, he's still out, right? Gillard then approached the victim with a pair of scissors and assaulted him. A third woman, 20-year-old Sharon Jones from Barrow, also is still set to be sentenced for the offense. But the 3 photographed themselves like idiots with a 19-year-old young man before he woke up. And then when he woke up, he left out of the property. Now, Gillard's mobile phone was found to contain 4 videos and 40 images of the event. These 3 women took advantage of a vulnerable young man and subjected him to terrifying ordeal that will have lasting consequences. And this comes from Detective Constable Darren Henderson of the Columbia Police. Now, folks, this case, more than any other we bring you today, represents the facts on the ground versus the opinion that all men are sexual assaulters and that women are not. So, we have 3 more cases to go, folks. And out of millions of offenses that have been committed against men but never given the same attention as the cases where men assaulted women were. So our 5th case comes to us from the state of Arizona, Dry, Arizona. An elderly Arizona woman, aged 74 years old, was arrested for aggravated assault. She was accused of striking her boyfriend. Wow, 74-year-old woman has a boyfriend. But her boyfriend in the head with a hammer, then pulling a gun on him during a drive to the hospital so he could seek medical attention. Her name, Marilyn Ann Kepper of Bullhead City, was arrested for aggravated assault per domestic violence by the Bullhead City Department of Police. And she was booked into the Mojave County Jail in Kingman, Arizona after the incident. Amazing. Even at 74, you still can't get rid of anger that will make you hurt a man. Marilyn's excuse for injuring the man was because she was upset with her boyfriend because he had left the television on during the night and she couldn't sleep. Obviously, he fell asleep. Her 74-year-old boyfriend was treated at a hospital for injuries to his head. The victim told medical staff he awoke and he had Kepler hitting him in the head with a weapon, which was a hammer. Now, according to authorities, the boyfriend said he convinced Kepler, or this woman, to drive him to the hospital after the attack. But she drove past the hospital and pulled a gun on him while she was driving. This man, or the victim, told police he wrestled the gun away from her and got out of the vehicle. Kepler, the woman, then drove away, he added. See, she left him right there. Now, a nearby motorist spotted the man on the side of the road and took him to the hospital for treatment. Amazing. And now let's go to southern United States, in the state of Mississippi, where a woman stabbed her husband after dreaming he cheated on her. That's right, I didn't stutter. She dreamed that he cheated on her. Now keep in mind, he didn't actually cheat on her, but this was only her dream. Lindsay Stevens, 33 years of age, from the town of Mosul, is accused of stabbing her sleeping husband after she had a dream that her husband had been cheating on her. You can't even cheat in your dreams. Detective Abrams McKenzie of the Jones County Sheriff's Department told Stevens was charged with domestic aggravated assault, according to Jones County online booking records. Her bail was set at $10,000. Now, you notice all these cases with these women, their bail is set pretty low. Because in bail, all you have to do is put forward 10%. So if it's $10,000, just $1,000. Now, according to the investigators, Stevens said she had a dream that her husband was messing around. At that point, Stevens said she went into the kitchen down the hallway, opened a drawer, grabbed a knife, and attacked him, stabbing him multiple times in his back in his sleep. The man suffered 4 to 7 stab wounds. Her husband underwent surgery and is expected to recover. And now we give you our last story to report from the great state of Colorado. And this is a doozy. An animal rights lawyer charged with hiring a hitman to murder her husband's girlfriend and him. So a Denver area attorney accused of threatening and blackmailing her estranged husband and his new girlfriend. The family's au pair, or nanny at the time. She had been charged with hiring a ranch hand to kill the other woman. Jennifer Emmy, she's 43, was arrested in late January and charged with solicitation of first-degree murder, 2 counts retaliating against a witness or victim, and 3 counts of stalking. So she's stalking her own husband and his new girlfriend in a separation. Now, in November, Emmy asked Timothy Lindsay, 28 years old of age, to help her kill the husband's girlfriend, asking if he knew anyone who could get rid of her. Now, according to the arrest affidavit, Emmy also allegedly provided Lindsay with the girlfriend's name and workplace. Lindsay suggested he could do the job for her between $50,000 and $100,000, and to discuss whether it made sense to also kill Emmy's husband. Now, this is according to the affidavit. But the ranch hand then turned around and reported Emmy to both the police and her husband. Lindsay also talked to another ranch hand, a former military sniper named Seth Malcolm. Now, McCallum was his actual name, told police that Emmy had asked him to kill people in the past, but said that she was just fantasizing and had never named a victim. Are you sure? The following words were ushered from the mouth of this woman's lawyer, who planned the murder. She said, I quote, "With all due respect, it sounds very much like a woman scorned who had 3 children with a man and he traded her in for some young woman." But I wonder, would she be able to use that same defense if the genders were reversed? I don't think so. I have heard of a dumber defense since the Twinkie defense insanity case back in 1970s. In that case, the accused, one Mr. Dan White, got a lesser sentence for murder by claiming that eating too many Twinkies, yes, I said too many Twinkies, contributed to his murderous state of mind. And it exacerbated his depression, causing him to murder the then famous San Francisco supervisor Harvey Milk, you might have heard of, and Mayor George Moscone. Now, back then, White's defense was that he suffered diminished capacity as a result of depression, a symptom of which was a changed diet from healthy foods to Twinkies and other sugar foods. Now, maybe that animal rights lawyer should have used that. At any rate, she is being held in the Jefferson County Jail on a $3 million cash bond. Now, that's more like it. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of these stories are brought to you today are tragedies individually or collectively, but nothing that people are willing to march in the streets to end. There will be no outcries for a Violence Against Men Act or law. But tune in next week at the same time and the same channel for more stories on assault on manhood. And also watch out for who you make your friend. Otherwise, you may be reporting your story. We'll see you next week.